Can someone with a state and federal felony conviction get their gun rights back? What's up, everybody? Appreciate you guys joining us for today's episode. We're going to get straight into it with my brother, Rights Restored. What's good, my brother? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing excellent, excellent. So I caught you, found you on YouTube, on TikTok. You're blowing up. You have a story about how you got your gun rights back, and you defended yourself in court against the district attorney. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
And so my question, and it's the $1,000,000 question for everyone who's watching and listening right now: can someone with a state and federal felony conviction get their gun rights back?
Yes, you definitely can. There's multiple ways to do it. Through my research, I found that this is actually one of the most litigated topics in law is felons trying to get their gun rights back. So for a state felony, the process is a little bit simpler. Most of them, you just either appeal to the state or appeal to the board to get a pardon. In my state, the process is a lot simpler. And that's similar to with some of the other states. All you do is you file out a petition, you send that to your courthouse, and that's going to get you in court to argue in front of a judge. As far as the federal, there used to be a process where federal felons would do the same thing to the federal government. Unfortunately, the federal government decided to defund that program because they need money in other places, I guess. But so
always tough on us, brother.
yeah. They always put the money where it don't belong.
Yeah, that's right.
So for federal felons now, what they're doing, there's two cases that recently happened, or more than two, where these federal felons are taking their cases to federal court. Initially, they're just suing the government. They're creating a lawsuit and bringing that to the United States Attorney General. And these courts are now ruling that withholding the Second Amendment from felons is unconstitutional. So this is a big ruling. This is something that's huge. It's happening right now all over the country. We're expecting these cases to get to the Supreme Court soon. And when they do, you're going to get that broad, sweeping ruling that's going to give everybody their federal right, their gun rights back. I say, show you right, show you right. Show you right. But right now, they're doing it slow, and it's on a case-by-case basis. I don't know how long these cases, sometimes they take up to 5 years before they get to the Supreme Court. So for now, it's just an individual ordeal where people with these federal convictions are taking their cases to the government, and the government is ruling that felons do have a right to bear arms, and they're using the Bruin decision to make that decision.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate you breaking that down for us, and we're going to kind of dig deeper into that, into a little bit more about your case, which I will actually share a link to that video where you break down, kind of every aspect of your case and your mindset going into it, which I want to actually get into in our episode today as well, because I found it fascinating. Again, particularly how you prepared and the reasons why you even chose to defend yourself and represent yourself essentially in court. So can you talk about that a little bit? And again, like I said, I'm going to put a link right now for this video, for your video here, so people can watch it for themselves. But just give us a little bit of breakdown. Why did you choose to represent yourself? And kind of what was your thinking when you walked in and you saw the district attorney in there ready to go against you head to head?
Yeah, so it first started out when I talked to a local attorney in my city, and I said, hey, is there any way that a felon can get their gun rights back? What do I have to do to get my gun rights back? He forwarded to another attorney, I guess, that deals with firearms, and that attorney told me that it was not possible for me to get my gun rights back. So then I called a different attorney who I heard a little bit more about, and he wanted to charge me $2,000 just to get my gun rights back. Damn! But through listening to these attorneys talk, he said something about relief with disability. So I get on Google and I type in relief with disability, and I found these laws that give you the process to getting your gun rights back. In my state, it's 2923-14. And that tells you that you can write a petition. You can write it on your own. You can go down there and get some paperwork from the court. But I didn't want to use paperwork from the court because it really doesn't give you enough room to explain. It's like 4 lines. How can I convince you that you should give me my gun rights back in 4 lines? Mm-hmm. So I wrote out my own petition. Ended up getting my day in court. And when I got there, the prosecutor was there. And I was like, at first that shook me a little bit. That scared me a little bit because I'm like, man, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know this much. How can I argue against a prosecutor? This man spent his whole life arguing cases, arguing in court, and he knows the law. So I think what benefited me is just the amount of research that I did do into it. I was looking up other cases where my thing was I wanted to know why people got denied. A lot of times people look up these court cases and they look at how people won. I wanted to figure out how people lost and how I can not do anything that they did to lose. So it's weird. Some of the things they say is proof. You can't prove what you're saying. Everything in my petition, I made sure I had proof that whatever I said I did or what reason I said that they should give my gun rights back. I made sure I had proof. I had people there who said they wanted me to go hunting. I had my wife there who said that she wanted self-defense, proof that I had a job, proof of where I was working at, proof of how long I've been out of prison, proof of everything. So I think it's just that I was really, really prepared that day.
Okay.
And really ready to argue with the prosecutor.
That's what's up, man. I mean, and that is kind of what I sense from you. I also want to kind of ask you, one, was there anything, about your particular background that you felt made you better equipped to defend yourself or to represent yourself, I should say? And then two, for those men or women who are formerly incarcerated watching this video and listening to the podcast right now, what do you recommend that would you recommend that anyone can actually should go in and represent themselves and not choose to get an attorney instead?
Well, as far as my background, what made me equipped to do this, I don't know if there was anything there other than the Spirit of God, other than me praying over it and asking for this to go through the way it went through.
Thank you, Jesus!
I'm not into law. I mean, maybe in high school, did some debate classes. Everybody always said that I like to argue, but I don't think there was anything in there that made me any better than the next man at being able to get my gun rights back other than the will to do so. As far as who I would say not to do it is people who just won't read. I get a lot of people coming to me and they just ask questions about things that, I should think are obvious, but my wife tells me that everybody doesn't see things the way I see them or everybody can't understand things the way I understand them. So I should take the time to explain these things to these people. But I think the person, if you just got the will to do it, do it. If you ain't got the money, you can't afford an attorney, but you want your gun rights back, do it. You can do it all yourself. It's called pro se for a reason. We don't have to have attorneys to get in court.
So when you walked in, what was the prosecutor saying? Because I would imagine also that, the prosecutor and the judge, they might have already, probably have a pretty close relationship. What was that like?
Well, I would say the prosecutor did have some really reasonable arguments. I went to prison for 6 years for aggravated robbery. So his main thing was, okay, he already proved that he was unsafe around a gun once. If you put a gun back in this man's hand, he's going to prove that he's unsafe again.
Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
And my argument against that was I had only been out for 2 years, so I mind you. A lot of people, they wait till they're out 5, 10, 16 years before they take this step to try to get their gun rights back. I had only been out for 2 years at this point and only off probation for 2 months. So I just told him, hey, this is who I am. This is where I work. I'm a water plant operator. I'm a professional in this community. I got a good job. I'm married. I got children. And I feel like I deserve the right to be able to defend my home, defend my family, and feed my family if I want to, because I had friends that wanted me to go hunting with them and things like that. And I'm like, okay, I want to be able to hunt. So the judge, I don't know, he just, whatever demeanor he was, whatever was going on with him that day, evidently he was in a good mood. And he seen things my way. He was a bit hard on me. I mean, he was, at first I felt like at times he was siding with the prosecutor. But in my mind, this was the only chance I was going to get. So there wasn't no reason for me to hold anything back. There wasn't no reason for me to worry about being disrespectful to the prosecutor in a sense. It was my job to be in there and make him look stupid. So when he said that, I just told him like, hey, why don't I deserve the right to defend my home?
Got you. That is awesome. And really, that kind of went into the question that I did have was, what were your reasons for wanting to have your gun rights back? And that makes a lot of sense. But let me also ask you, do you believe that anyone, whether it be on the federal or states, should get their rights back? Because there's some conversations that I'm having here locally with some of our state representatives about just a full restoration of rights. And I'll just take a brief moment to share this with the audience as well, is legislation that would actually create a pathway for to end being a felon. Kind of as the system is presently constructed, that there's just no pathway to not have a felony, never have a felony conviction on your record. And I've been talking about this because my podcast is called From Setbacks to Success, and it really deals with some of the issues, the setbacks that I faced in life that included divorce, a house fire, incarceration, as well as bankruptcy. And with my bankruptcy, I filed it in 2009, and then 10 years to the exact date of that filing, that bankruptcy was removed from all three of my credit reports: TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. I didn't have to go write a letter. I didn't have to hire an attorney to go petition, the three credit bureaus to get that off. It was just systematic that it came off. And so, our discussions here, and hopefully we get this bubbled up on a national level, and I'd like to get your thoughts about it as well, that there should be something, systematic as well, that, if you've been out of prison, say 3 or 5 years, you paid all your restitution, you served your time, you served your sentence, you're off parole, you're off probation, then, that felony should automatically come off your record. So, but with that, my question, to you is, do you think that there are just some people, do you think that having gun rights for any and everybody, regardless if you're on the state, have a state or federal conviction, or regardless of what kind of time you're out here on, should have their gun rights back?
I think what everybody wants to hear is for somebody to say, yeah, every felon out there should get their gun rights back. But the truth is, we all know the hard truth is that's going to create a slippery slope. There's just some people out there, there's mass shooters, murderers, things like that, in my opinion, honestly, it could create a slippery slope and make things harder for the rest of us felons that's trying to do right. That's like taking somebody who's habitual on his third DUI and saying, oh, he should just get his license back. It's not happening. Okay. So I think a process similar to the one that we have in Ohio should be one that's implemented on a national level, where you have to write out your petition, you have to stand in front of a judge, and you have to go and have proof based on individual merit that you are somebody who deserves to get your rights back. Because let's be honest, we all messed up. We all did something that got us to where we are as a felon. So I don't think it's too much for us to ask for them to look at us on the individual merit and see that we get our gun rights back. The reason I say that is because a criminal, somebody who's planning on continuing to do things like that, is not going to go in front of a judge and say, hey, I want my gun rights back. It's way easier for you to get a gun on the street than it is for you to go to the gun store and purchase one.
That's right.
So that's why I think there needs to be this program, but I don't think it needs to be as hard as some of these other states are making it be. Some of these states are saying that you got to get a pardon, you got to get all these letters of recommendation, you got to jump through all these hoops, you got to be nonviolent, you got to continue to be out of trouble for 10 years. So you can say, okay, we're going to have this process where it's going to be general and everybody's going to get their rights back. But how hard, how stringent would that process be? You shouldn't have to live for 10 years to prove that you should get your rights back. What happens if you get robbed within that 10 years? I like how Ohio, there's no time frame behind how long you got to wait to apply for your rights. You don't got to hire an attorney. All you got to do is write down why you feel like you should get your rights back. And if you have a good standing, if you're a law-abiding citizen, if you're not getting in trouble, then they're going to give you your rights back.
Okay. So this, like I said, so I kind of want to tie this into the legislation that we're looking at. because again, this would be actually the removal of the felony from your record, and you're actually getting a clean slate. So that would give you access to any and all employment opportunities, housing opportunities, because and gun rights as well, voting opportunities, etc. And so the thought being, and again, you have a pretty good argument, particularly when you use the case of the DUIs. This someone's just habitual, they're a career drinker and driver, then there's probably a less likelihood that that's going to change, and they pose some risk to the community behind that. But I guess on my end, it's just like, when does it end? Like, when does your penalty end? Essentially, you've done your time, you paid your restitution, you've done your probation, and you still got to be excluded from society on a large part. What are your thoughts about that?
See, that's what makes this argument a little bit difficult. So I think it should end the day you get out of prison. I think it should end right then and there. I think, like in Ohio, it says you can't be a violent career criminal and get your gun rights back. Or so maybe a 3 strikes type of deal or something like that. But I do think that your penalty should end the day you step out of jail. I don't think that you should continue to have all this. There's people who can't get housing, can't live in certain apartments or communities and things like that, can't even vote because of their felony. I don't think your Second Amendment should be taken, because your First Amendment isn't taken when you get out of prison. Could you imagine you get out of prison and they say, you ain't allowed to speak?
Right. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's just because think about the people out here who might have committed a crime in their 20s or 30s, and 20 years later, they're still dealing with they've been out working.
Yeah.
Got grandkids or whatever. They out the way, as they call it. They're staying out the way.
Yeah.
And it's just something that you just continually have to live with, and it just doesn't seem like that's the right answer either. And I know it's difficult, because I don't know. I mean, because I can kind of see that there probably needs to be, maybe potentially needs. I don't really advocate for that, but there probably needs to be some screening, who can and who can't. I mean, we've been inside. We know kind of not everybody moves the same way. So yeah, that's one we'll get into, and we can come back to on another episode. But anyone who's watching and listening right now, if you have some comments of what you think should happen with our broken system, please comment down below your thoughts about that, because we really are trying to get more kind of engagement from all angles and more ideas about all angles. How do we fix this?
I would say this. I don't think there needs to be a process to where people don't get their gun rights back, because the bottom line is people are going to go and buy guns if they want to buy guns. It doesn't matter whether they can do it legally or not. It's just us who want to do things the right way. We're the ones being penalized by the broken system, as you said.
Got you. I will say this one. Again, thank you for sharing the information that you have. It inspired me. Personally, I went and researched on the federal, for us with federal felonies on our record. And I saw that the process was that after 5 years that we would be eligible to write the United States Pardon Attorney's Office to request a presidential pardon. And with a presidential pardon, you could get your full restoration of your gun rights. So
you can also sue the attorney general,
or can sue the attorney general, as you stated before. So yeah, so there's two ways to skin that cat, I guess. So I did receive the application. I'm going to share a link actually as well for those who might be interested who have federal cases. I'll share the address down below of this video if you want to write in to request yours. And also, if you just kind of want to get more information about the requirements there. And again, I have the application, haven't started it yet, but again, we can maybe do a little follow-up so I can share with you the results of that. Because you said if I can get my gun rights back, we can go fire a couple off.
Oh, definitely. You see me, I got guns back here. As soon as you get them right, go for a range check, because that's just what I want to do with my channel. I want to bring awareness to the issue of us felons and the challenges that we face in society. And one of the biggest challenges we face is the fact that we can't defend ourselves, we can't defend our homes, we can't protect ourselves. Right. So I feel like if I can come out and I can be a good advocate for the Second Amendment, I can show responsible gun ownership, then maybe I can be an example for some of these politicians to look at, and they can say, hey, look at Rights Restored. He got his gun rights back. He's not causing any problems, and maybe that can help pave the way for somebody else. That's my goal. That's what I want to do with the channel.
That's excellent, man. I appreciate you for doing that. Now, tell me a little bit about your guns. Now, you said you got your first one, which was I remember the episode. What was the first gun that you picked up?
The very first gun I picked up was a shotgun.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 12 gauge pump action shotgun because I just felt like I needed something in the house, something that maybe my wife could use, and yeah.
General purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you. And let's see. Let me also ask you this question. Do you have a permit to carry as well?
Yep, I have a permit. That was one of the biggest questions is, can a felon get a permit?
Right.
And I didn't know what that was going to be like because when I first got my gun rights back, I was thinking like, okay, I just got it back on the state level. I know a permit, you got to go through a federal background check.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, okay, once I do this permit, because I had people telling me like, yeah, the federal government won't recognize state gun rights. That's a myth. The federal government will recognize it. So I went forth to get my permit sort of as a trial just to see what was going to happen. And yeah, I ended up getting my CCW.
Oh man, congratulations.
So,
yeah.
I do carry, I don't know. I don't think I should bring out a gun because it might, you monetize?
No, I'm not right now, but yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
go
show
ahead.
you.
Go ahead.
All right, so let me unload it real quick. This right here, this is my carry gun. It's unloaded.
Okay.
This is my carry gun. This is a CZSP01. I always wanted something hammer fire, something that I could keep it in my holster, and I carry it everywhere I go. I don't go anywhere without it. Work, everywhere I go, I keep my gun with me.
Keep your gun with you. Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And that's a game changer, man. That's a game changer for sure, man. So again, man, big shout out to you. So for those again watching and listening, man, how would they go about reaching you if they want to kind of lock into your channel, the information that you're presenting? And what social media platforms are you on, and how can they reach you?
Everything is Rights Restored. It's Rights Restored on YouTube, Rights_Restored on Instagram, and Rights Restored on TikTok. If you want to personal message me, ask me questions, consult and things like that, I help you out. Go to Instagram, message me there, or you can comment on one of my videos on YouTube. Please go over to the channel, support the channel. I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for all of you who want your gun rights back. And thanks for y'all support.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. And so one last question. What is the next chapter for you and your YouTube journey? And just kind of, do you see yourself kind of being an advocate on certain level? And I do want to kind of, and I did want to touch on this, because you just got a lot of comments from not just formerly incarcerated men and women, but you also got a lot of response from the gun rights advocates as well, correct?
Yeah, the Second Amendment community has been very, very supportive. I mean, you get just a few people who's like, oh man, felons should never get their gun rights back. Animals should never have guns. So you get comments like that, but overwhelmingly, it's been a ton of support from just people who like guns in general and people who are gun advocates. Because in general, Second Amendment people, we believe that everybody should have a Second Amendment right. Everybody should have a gun. Everybody should own an AR-15. So it's been really, really supportive. I guess what's next for me is just to continue to be a gun rights advocate as well as a felons rights advocate, and just bring those two fields together.
Okay. Are you connected with any groups, Second Amendment groups, that you would like to share with the audience as well, if they would be interested in linking up and joining as well?
Yes, I'm a member of the NRA. I joined the NRA just because I wanted to get my CCW. I'm also a member of NAGA. That's the National African American Gun Association. Check them out. They got chapters in every city, everywhere across the state. Get with your NAGA representative. And I guess that's about it for advocacy groups.
That's what's up, man. Again, brother, appreciate your time and energy, and everybody else. As always, don't let your setbacks stop you from your success, as this brother right here is showing you. And until next time, peace.